Hey everyone, welcome back to Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones Cooper, and you probably know our next guest, Morena Baccarin, from her roles in Deadpool and Gotham. But the actress is also an advocate for the protection and empowerment of women and girls around the world. She's here today to talk about her work with the International Rescue Committee, which recently took her to Colombia to see the emergency response for the Venezuelan refugee crisis. Take a look.
$40,000 to $60,000 people crossing every single day.
You see babies, sweating, clinging to their parents. I can't imagine as a mom what it's like for your little kids to be having to go through that.
Estás aquí sola. This is the beginning of the trip for them, and then they're going to be walking for days, hours, whatever it is, to get to a safe place, which on the other side, there may or may not be a safe place waiting for them.
Help me welcome Morena Baccarin.
Hi, guys. Hi. Hello.
Thank you for joining us today. I love talking about entertainment. I love talking about movies and TV, but I don't think there are things more important than really talking about what's going on in our world and what's affecting our human citizens. And so when I sat down to do research for this today, I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know first, for you, how did you get familiar with this organization and the work that they were doing?
Yeah, I learned a lot too, actually, taking my trip. I've known about the IRC now it's hard to remember the first time, actually. It's been at least 8 years. I stumbled upon a dinner that was honoring Tom Brokaw and his family for their anthropological work. And I get honestly choked up when I think about that night. I was seeing these incredible young women, and more than young women, people who, like myself, were immigrants to the United States, but unlike myself, didn't have a safe haven, and the IRC does that and rehabilitates political refugees and refugees from all over the world. Yeah. And I was really touched and approached Danny Borgman about it and said, you know what, I want to do whatever. Use me. Tell me where to go, what to do to bring awareness. And so that was about 8 years ago. And then my trip to Colombia was really eye-opening because, I'm from Brazil, I'm from Latin America, and I am ashamed to say I had no idea really what was going on. I took this trip last year, and this is something that a humanitarian crisis that is not getting a lot of visibility, and we tend to, we were talking about this backstage, press, there's a lot of press in the world, and we tend to just kind of gloss over things, and this was something that really touched me.
Yeah, I think a lot of us saw the uprising in Venezuela, and we saw the images in the New York Times last summer, and you maybe knew there was something going on, but I think a lot of us fail to think on that micro view of what is it doing to the people, what is happening to people, where are they going? And so can you explain to me what you saw in Colombia, because Colombia has taken on a lot of these Venezuelan refugees?
Yes, they have. You expect to see these massive images of war-torn countries and bullets flying overhead and that kind of movie image of what a crisis looks like. And these are people like you and I, like everybody sitting here, who have families and are trying to get the basics. Right. Diapers, toilet paper, eggs. I have eggs almost every morning for breakfast. Mm-hmm. People in Venezuela were having to cross into Colombia to purchase eggs because they couldn't afford it back home. Sometimes simple things are a month's salary. And it was eye-opening in that sense, that it was very everyday. I don't mean to minimize it, but everyday things were necessities. Medicine, for people who are diabetic, the simplest things you can think of.
And I know you got to spend time with some of these mothers and children firsthand in some of the centers. So can you talk to me about what the organization does for those families?
Sure. The IRC opened a center in 2018, just last year, in Cúcuta, which is one of the cities very close to the border. And a lot of the numbers are staggering. It's like 35,000 refugees were crossing the Simon Bolivar Bridge every single day. Think about that, 35,000 people every single day. 5,000 of them would stay, were immigrating. The rest would return home to to Venezuela, sorry. They were coming to the IRC center to get care, prenatal care, medicine, help in any way that they could. That bridge is now since closed. Actually, the borders are closed now. There's only a couple of walking points and also a lot of illegal crossings going on.
Are there other countries in South America that are stepping up to help? Because I know, a lot of different countries have their own economic issues.
Yeah. South America has really stepped up.
Yeah.
They are, the borders have just closed because there are so many people coming in. There's no infrastructure, there's no way to help. And so the other countries surrounding are going to reach their own crisis level. Brazil, Colombia, these are places that really have embraced a lot of these refugees with open arms, but they just don't have the help, the humanitarian help, to put these centers in place in order for people not to be living on the streets or be victims of sex trafficking, people literally not having any hospitals or doctors and care to go to.
What can you speak to has been maybe some involvement you've seen from the U.S.? We obviously have this amazing organization that's reached out. Has there been a push? Is there enough attention to this issue?
There's not enough attention. The IRC is funded globally.
Yeah.
It's not a U.S. organization. And, it's really important for countries like the United States that have a little bit more of a capability to help. One of the things that U.S. can do is offer protection to the Venezuelans who are here so that they don't get deported and go back to even worse conditions. That's just a simple thing that can happen. We have the lowest rating right now, the U.S., of allowing immigrants into the country, and specifically Venezuelans. So it's a really big problem.
Right, and I don't think people realize we've heard a lot about the Syrian refugee crisis, but this is kind of on pace to
It's
be bigger
on
than
pace
that.
to dwarf it, in
Yeah.
fact, very soon.
Yeah.
5 million people are set to leave and to immigrate, and it's going to be a really big problem very, very soon. And so we have to tackle it before it becomes the Syrian refugee crisis, but it's very, very quickly getting there.
So politically, there are some things happening with immigration, but what can real people do? How can we help? How can we chip in?
That's a really good question. I think write it to your government for aid, to have them give aid. Also, and unfortunately, it's not helpful to just send supplies because we don't know where that's going. Places like the IRC that are setting up, real facilities that are helping people, we can support those organizations. And, just awareness, get the word out, get people out there to support.
And I'm interested, when you were in Colombia, was there a specific woman or mother or child or somebody you met that just sort of, for you, encompasses what this experience is like?
There were so many, many, many people. It was staggering. One of the experiences that sticks in my mind was being on the Simon Bolivar Bridge and watching that massive influx of people coming in to Colombia. And we stopped a few people to speak. One of them was a mom with her. She was holding her 1-year-old, and she had I believe a 3 or 4-year-old that she was holding hands with. And she was coming into Colombia to work for the day, to sell lollipops just across the bridge so she can make money to buy the medicine and the food needed for her kids. And I asked her what she was going to do with the kids, and she was like, they're going to play. They're going to be here with me. They're not in school while I sell lollipops to get the basic needs for my children. And I think about that woman now. She can't do that anymore. So that border is closed for her. So what is she doing to survive? Yeah. And it's really specific examples like that I think we need to bring more awareness to. Those are the things that it's hard when we are here living our lives to think about what that means for somebody. The IRC was helping people. For example, there was this man named Julio that sold, he was able to get a stipend from the IRC to buy a little ice cream truck that he could sell ice cream to in the park, and was then able to take that money and send it back to his family in Venezuela. And it's such a simple thing. And every single person that I met there at the center and on that bridge, they just want to work. They want to be able to do what is the basic human desire, to just work for their family. They don't want a handout. They don't want to be rescued. They want to be able to function in a society.
I think what's so important to have this conversation now is that things in Venezuela aren't getting better. The country's
Getting
very
worse.
destabilized right now. And I think I read inflation is up 10 million% or something.
Yes.
So even if you are able to make money, goods cost way more than you could ever afford.
A loaf of bread will cost about a month's salary. That would be like you going to the store and paying $4,000, $2,000 for bread.
So we need to be having this conversation.
Yeah.
And people need to, I think, start looking a little more globally. And then, like you said, calling our own senators and Congress people as they're trying to move some of these bills that could help either recipients of DACA or TPS or all these programs that are there to help immigrants.
And really help here. You know, we can give a safe haven to people that are already here who are fearful of being deported. I mean, obviously right now without getting into the political turmoil and climate of this country, as far as immigration goes, you know, people are in fear that they don't have a place to go to in order to sort of weather out the consequences of what's happening to their government. So deporting somebody who is already here is only sending them back to even worse conditions. And that is not humanitarian, no matter what your belief is.
That's really horrible and sick. Do you have any other trips planned, or do you want to, I guess, what is your kind of future involvement with
I'm not sure yet. I would love to, I know we've talked about doing like sort of a year later kind of check-in. I don't know that we'll need to wait that long, unfortunately, to go check in and see how things are going. I think it may need to happen sooner rather than later because it's growing exponentially. And you know, places like the IRC need funding from the world in order to be able to continue doing the job that they're doing there. I mean, there were women coming in 6, 7, 8 months pregnant who walked across the bridge for their prenatal care, and the IRC, you know, they hand them a sandwich when they arrive, basically, and they go in for their doctor's appointments. And a lot of them have left family behind in Venezuela, and they're just here for literally that appointment. And these women are often 19, 20, 21 years old, and now, unless they are visibly pregnant, they are not able to cross the border to get that care that they need.
As a mother, when you hear stories like that, I mean,
I can't even.
I'm not a mother, and it's like gut-wrenching to
It is.
know that a woman can't just receive basic care.
It's the basics, and it's really, I think that's what makes this so hard, and what makes me feel so passionate about it is that I identify, you know, and I see when you look at somebody's eyes, like I could be you. I happen to live in New York City. And that is a really important thing to remember. It's a crisis that is happening, you know, in my neighborhood country of Brazil. You know, Venezuela and Brazil share a border, and it's something that it's a world issue. It's not just a small country dealing with something.
Well, I always appreciate when performers and actors use their platforms for something positive, especially because I know you have to manage your time, right? You're a mother, you have multiple projects happening at the same time. One is Gotham, and I know there was a recent episode where you ended up marrying your real life husband on screen. So do you have any fun, like, behind the scenes stories from that experience? Because it's fun to watch knowing that you guys are married in real life, but.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's really grounding to work with your family, actually. And it was a very sweet moment. It was nice to end the show on that note. It was the last season we shot of the entire series. It was the last scene. And so it felt really nice to end on that. And it's why I do what I do. I don't want to, you know, be preachy and stand up here and say that I know how to solve the world's problems, because I am like everybody else, where we're just kind of trying to, you know, to bring awareness when we can. And the IRC really touched me in that way. You know, when I went to that dinner and saw what the work that they were doing, it's something that identifies, because family is very important to me. And coming from another country, I recognized how hard it is to just keep the basics going.
From what I read too, everybody, from the full run of the show kind of got to be present on that and that shoot. Is that correct?
Yeah,
So it's like that family thing you're talking about seemed
Yeah.
really like real and authentic.
Yeah, it was very real. Everybody, was a little teary-eyed. It was all because the show was ending, also because, that was a huge part of my personal family was everybody I was working with.
Yeah. And one final, before we go to the audience for questions, Ryan Reynolds put something on his Instagram concerning Deadpool, and a lot of people started talking about Deadpool 3. And, I just want to know what your thoughts are on that.
I'm in.
You're in.
Let's start.
That was easy. All right, let's go to the audience really quick for some questions. Who do we have first?
Oh, hi. I love your work as an actress and
Thank
also
you.
helping people like the Venezuelan refugees in Colombia. So my question is, what motivated you, besides your mother, to help these people and give them a voice?
I don't really know. I mean, it's just something that I felt like I could, that I happen to be on television. People will listen if I say something. And I thought, why not use that to bring awareness to a cause that was somewhat silent, especially at the time when I went. And I also feel like it's our responsibility as human beings to just be aware citizens of the world that you live in. And so if I can do anything, to help, then great.
I think, too, those moments when you realize how much women and children specifically kind of suffer around the world.
Yeah.
I think when you become a mother, I would imagine, and as a woman, you're just like, we have
It's
to talk
really
about
hard.
these things.
It's really, really hard. You have this image when you become a mom that your children won't suffer, that you're going to protect them from everything. And of course, that is the exact opposite of what the world is, and that's how you learn and how you become human, is you fall and you get up. And seeing these little tiny kids dealing with something that is beyond what they should be dealing with at this age really changed me.
You, definitely. Next question.
Hi. So first, thank you for all of the incredible work you're doing.
Thank you.
So you've done a lot of benevolent roles in your film and TV career. If you could be a villain in anything, what would you want your arc to be? And is there a villain that you think is like the coolest?
I enjoyed playing Anna actually on V. She was somewhat of a villain because she had a greater goal, which was to survive and to have her people survive. So I would love to play a villain that was rooted in something real. Often people who are bad people have something that makes them tick, that makes them who they are. So if that makes sense.
I'll take it. And last question.
Hi.
I was actually wondering, I know you didn't want to get too into politics, but if any of the political climate right now and some of the laws coming around have made it more difficult to do this work, because you hear about people getting arrested just for trying to give people water. So I didn't know if any of that was making it harder for you in the organization, or if you're still able to.
I can't say. I honestly can't speak to that because I haven't had that experience personally. The IRC is running a, very professional operation, and I'm doing everything under their umbrella. I'm not out there sort of renegade, and I don't encourage that. Just people going out there and trying to solve the problem themselves. So I can't really speak to that. I'm sure it's been difficult for some organizations to get the proper funding. That is definitely an issue.
But that's why I think our action is so important. I did read that, in polls, the vast majority of Americans do think immigrants who are here deserve a path to citizenship. And so I think these conversations have ignited own advocacy within each of us to find our own ways to help. And this definitely seems like an amazing organization that is helping to do that globally. So if you guys want to find out more information on how you can help the International Rescue Committee, you can go to www.rescue.org. Give it up for Morena Baccarin.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.